When it comes to peripherals and OSU, pretty much everyone sticks to what they're familiar with and prefer. While most players have gravitated towards the OSU cheaterboard known as the HyperX Alloy Origins and tablets such as the Wacom CTL472, your style of play was not a point of concern. Or at least, certain peripherals didn't give some kind of advantage over another. That all changed in the blink of an eye. Reddit user JanruBoy would post a Reddit thread talking about the potential of using analog switches for OSU, but no one cared. 2 months later, Apollo would read out this tweet saying that top speed players are utilizing these analog switches to achieve better speed plays while simultaneously hiding the existence of the keyboards that use these special switches. Out of nowhere, this keyboard went from an afterthought to by far the most controversial peripheral used in OSU history. Thanks to a hardware feature not found in any other keyboard switches, it allowed players to truly achieve their maximum possible speed without changing anything except the keyboard they are using. This was initially seen as just a dumb gimmick that doesn't actually work, but then speed players got a hold of it. Plays and clips arose so quickly, the immediate impression was that this keyboard was a cheap and cheesy way to magically have faster tapping. Some of the game's fastest players have also started using the keyboard for themselves, and that was when the entire situation spiraled out of control. Things got so heated that when one top player decided to voice their opinions on it, it started a massive fight. Even the keyboard company themselves got involved with this. Some see it as a legitimately good way to aid your tapping, while others see it as a tool so broken it will over-centralize the speed meta completely and damage it forever. The speed meta was already taking over in the OSU community. More players have risen in recent time who can stream faster VPMs than ever before. And now there is an opportunity that could potentially give rise to more players like this, all because of one hardware feature in this special keyboard. When it comes to keyboards, there isn't a keyboard that is objectively the best keyboard. Keyboard enthusiasts will be the first one to tell you that, and whatever you consider to be good in a keyboard is all personal preference. The same goes for OSU. Everyone has their own setups with their own peripherals, and as far as keyboards are concerned, only one has seen a popular preference: the HyperX Alloy Origins. At one point in time, all players inside the top 10 used this keyboard, and with that much top player influence, it became a popular pick amongst the OSU community. This earned it the community-given nickname of the cheaterboard because players seemingly got better at the game just by using it. However, just because it was the common preference among both casual and top players, it did not mean the game was centralized around the use of that keyboard. And that random burst of improvement people received after using it for the first time was just chalked up to be placebo. A new keyboard does not affect your current skill level whatsoever, and at the end of the day, it was just like any other keyboard. But soon enough, a new keyboard would take the OSU community by storm. And that's because it's not your standard keyboard. Twitter user Apollo would call out speed players in this tweet claiming that they are hiding the secrets to becoming such a fast player. These secrets lie within a new keyboard featuring a special hardware feature within its switches, and this feature is only present within Wooting keyboards. This tweet was so controversial, even Wooting themselves responded to it. Wooting is a keyboard brand that specializes in making analog keyboards that feature switches that function differently than regular switches. Regular switches only have two states: either it's pressed or it's not. But Wooting makes use of analog switches. With analog switches, your keyboard can tell how sensitive your key press is by reading how far down you press the key. This is similar to a joystick on video game controllers. But this feature is not the focal point within the OSU community. What has gained the attention of the entire player base is the feature known as Rapid Trigger. Rapid Trigger completely changes how switches go from its unpressed state to its pressed state. The general gist of how it works is that whenever you are pressing the key down, it activates, and when you let go and it starts moving up, the press is no longer registered. This is significantly different from normal switches. With normal switches, the user must depress the switch past its actuation point to register the key press. To register a second input, the user must let the switch go back up beyond the actuation point to deactivate the first key press. Then they repress the switch past its actuation point again for the second input to go through. However, with Rapid Trigger, it essentially means the actuation point of any switch no longer exists. The instantaneous moment the switch is being pressed down, it registers the input, and the immediate moment the switch is retracting back up, the input is no longer registered. This is true no matter how far down the key is pressed. While normal switches have a stationary actuation point at a certain distance that varies from switch to switch, the switches on the Wooting keyboard essentially removes that. At any point throughout the switch's depth, it can be activated and deactivated with Rapid Trigger. If that explanation was too complicated, then let's simplify it with Sytho's explanation. When you press the key down, it says yes, and when you let go, it says no. And this changes everything. What this means is that players can theoretically reach higher stream and burst speeds since they do not have to allow the key to retract to its unpressed state. Rather, they can use a smaller finger movement to both press and unpress the key at a faster rate since the distance their fingers have to travel is shortened. Theoretically, this is possible with regular switches by jittering the switch up and down the actuation point, but this is not practical, especially when we're dealing with fractions of millimeters. However, with the Wooting keyboard, not only does this become possible, it is 100% consistent, and it's this specific revelation that has sparked controversy. Clips surfaced of players hitting insanely fast streams with the help of rapid trigger on the Wooting keyboard, sometimes reaching levels that were considered to be borderline impossible. At first glance, it seemed like a lame way to cheese faster BPM bursts and streams, and this led to an outrage. However, instead of riding the hate bandwagon, some of Osu's fastest speed players chose to give the Wooting keyboard a chance, and they started performing well, and now it's seen as a legitimate way for speed players to harness their maximum speed capabilities. In fact, this keyboard has made such a massive splash within the community, you can no longer get this keyboard until next year. On the surface, this keyboard seems to be the ultimate gateway into becoming the speed player many people have wanted to build themselves into, and it seemed that way to Apostle, who is one of the fastest Osu players in the world. He went as far to say that all plays set with the Wooting keyboard are illegitimate because of what rapid trigger allows players to do, and this started a massive fight. This was met with backlash within the community, and the infamous Osu Drama Days Twitter account returned from 9 months of inactivity to point this out. Most notably, Eterna, who is widely considered to be both the fastest and greatest speed player in Osu history, called him out on this opinion, and the entire situation was a disaster. In response, Apostle deleted his Twitter account, later apologizing for his actions, and everything seemed to carry on as normal. But this meant that this keyboard was now being seen as the real deal. As everyone scrambles to get their hands on the keyboard for themselves, it seems like everyone with this keyboard is going to start shredding in the upcoming months. It's all too good to be true, and that's because it is. While rapid trigger might help with things such as limiting finger lock, the general consensus is that it won't immediately give players the ability to stream faster BPMs effectively. It might seem like players are now reaching BPMs that they weren't previously capable of reaching, but the catch is, they were always capable of doing so. Buying a keyboard obviously does not mean you can move your fingers faster in an instant. Not only that, but because of the more sensitive switches and literally playing with a unique hardware feature not present in other switches, even if you were to tap faster, it mostly comes at the cost of your control. For most of us, this keyboard would not make a difference whatsoever. But with that in mind, why does it look like certain top players are able to stream faster BPMs than ever before? While it might seem like they magically gain speed while using this keyboard, it's just an illusion. They were always capable of streaming these BPMs. It's just that it's at a speed where finger lock starts to become common for them. However, thanks to the Wooting keyboard, players are finally able to reach their peak streaming speeds without needing to worry about finger lock as much. And of course, this works at any level. For instance, Sytho has continued to set incredible plays with the Wooting keyboard, although he was always capable of reaching insanely fast BPMs with his old keyboards. And a speed player that came to rise in recent time, Roaz, who also uses the Wooting keyboard, is making a legitimate case for becoming the fastest speed player this game has ever seen. You would think I am joking, but he can literally just stream more than 300 BPM. As time went on, specializing in speed became more and more common in recent times, and eventually, the PP meta centralized around streaming higher BPMs, which led to even more players rising to the top thanks to their ability to absolutely shred. Players have gotten faster throughout the years. For instance, Everything Will Freeze, which is 240 BPM, had a leaderboard that looked like this not too long ago. Nowadays, 240 BPM is considered to be below average of what the best speed players in the game are capable of now. Practically every speed player is capable of streaming BPMs upwards of 250 for insanely long periods of time, and with the rise of speed farm maps like Plasma Gun, The Words I Never Said, Lionheart, and Glory Days among others, streaming BPMs that were considered to be impossible are now well within reach for practically every top player who excels at speed. Now, with the Wooting keyboard's rise, it's completely possible that the number of speed players in the game right now will reach a huge rise in the upcoming months, and the skill set as a whole might become the most desired skill set to be good out of them all. It would be wrong to say that one keyboard managed to give rise to a plethora of speed players, but it would also be a disservice to not acknowledge what this keyboard does. Whether you think the Wooting keyboard is just a dumb gimmick or as a tool that can help players become their absolute fastest, this keyboard, with the arguments it started and the drama surrounding it, completely broke the Osu community and possibly changed the outlook of it forever.